Today, we're going to talk about freshmen that are going to have a big role for Texas A&M, and I think no one will have a bigger role in this class than Jerome Myles.
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into Locked On Aggies. I'm your host, Andrew Stefaniak. Thanks for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. On the show today, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking a little bit about Bracekology. Joe Lunardi updates where the Aggies might end up going in the NCAA tournament. We're going to talk about an article from Athlon Sports that, really made a bold prediction about the offense. We'll get into that bold prediction about Marcel Reed. And we're going to start the day talking about these true freshmen and who might have a significant role for this football team next year. Those of you every day here at Locked On Aggies know that I am a big believer in I don't love freshmen starting at certain positions. There's really a few positions I'm cool with it, a few positions I don't love it. One position I don't mind having freshmen play a significant role if they're ready is wide receiver. And Jerome Myles is a player that I believe is going to be ready to play day one. I know he's not on campus right now and he's not going to be here for a little while, which is weird and it hurts. I read that if he hadn't sustained that injury, he would have been here. But the reality is, the good news is Jerome Myles is going to be good to go for the season. There was concern for a little while that the injury he sustained might keep him out. Probably, I don't think it was ever a concern for the whole year, but it was definitely a concern that, hey, he might miss a little bit of time. And as a true freshman, if you're not out there getting those reps when he gets on campus down the road, it's going to be really tough to play a significant role in this program. So, in year one. So, the injury news was great for Jerome Myles. Jerome Myles, once again, is the 6'3", 215-pound wide receiver. Comes over from the state of Utah. And, he's a guy, he had committed multiple different places, but the Aggies end up landing him late. Another just heck of a performance from Coach Elko. We'll talk about two guys, Lamont Rogers and Jerome Myles, that Coach Elko went and just got the job done right at the buzzer. And sometimes those are the best recruits to get. You also like getting guys early in the class because then it kind of helps your whole, hey, other good 5 stars. Look who we've already got here. Come play with these guys. But still, at the end of the day, Coach Elko really did a heck of a job closing this class out. So Jerome Myles in this wide receiver room, I think that Micah Hudson, we still haven't gotten a big update there, but what's going on with him? I think that opens up the door for Myles. I think that you're going to see a big role for Craver and Concepcion, and I think Jonah Wilson will get some snaps, and Bethel Roman's going to get some snaps. You're going to see some snaps go, to some different players, but at the same time, I think you can make the argument that Jerome Myles has some of the highest upside in this whole wide receiver room. And we saw receivers thrive as freshmen last year in the SEC. Ryan Williams over at Alabama, Cam Coleman over at Auburn, Craver at Mississippi State, who now is with the Aggies. Freshman receivers can play. And I think you're going to see Jerome Myles get some significant snaps. So, he's more of an outside guy. Talked about him a little bit the other day. What I love about his game is that you hear his frame and assume he's a 50-50 ball guy. That's not who he is. He's the guy that can dominate all over the field. He's the guy that can dominate with the ability to make people miss, the ability to create space with routes. He's just a do-it-all guy like that, and I think that is going to really help him get that early playing time that, we've talked about. The reality is it is not easy to find a way to get on the field as a true freshman in this conference. But at the end of the day, I do believe that you're going to see Jerome Myles do that. I think he is just so talented, and he's going to find a way to get out there. I just think that's the reality. And looking at the other freshmen in this class, the other name that's going to have a lot of excitement around it is Lamont Rogers. He's a player. Lamont Rogers is the type of guy that y'all know my opinion on freshmen playing on the offensive line. I do not love freshmen playing on the offensive line. It's just, I think you can get by even on the defensive line. I'm very anti-freshman in the trenches in general, but I think you can get by. You can get by with a couple with speed and technique and stuff like that as a freshman on the defensive line. I think on the offensive line, talent, you need I'll tell you, and it's not a rocket science take out of me, but I'm someone that played offensive line. I think those of you that played the offensive line position, you got to have the, I'm going to kill you kind of mentality on the offensive line. And it's tough. And you also got to have that grown man strength. And as a true freshman, I don't know if Rogers is going to yes, I'm sure that he bench presses 1,000,000 pounds and all that. That's not the point. The point is it's a different type of strength. And I think it comes with years of playing in a college program and growing up. So, and it's hard to say that Lamont Rogers is not going to be great as a freshman because of that frame, 6'6", 325. That'll play. That will always play. But I still think that he might struggle to get out there, especially knowing I think our offensive line is already pretty set. I think it would take an injury to get Lamont Rogers out there. Coyote Armstrong, the tight end, is another interesting name, another top 50 recruit in this class. And he is a guy, Coyote Armstrong is a guy that the athleticism, 6'5", 265. I think that he is a guy that will be out there and play some snaps, especially knowing the tight end is one of the most interesting, confusing positions on this roster. We really don't know what's going to end up happening with the tight end position. You've got Nyblack, and you've got Mike O'Reilly, and you've got Borger. You got a lot of guys. You got Theo. But, a lot of guys that have played a lot of college football. You want to talk about the up-and-coming excitement. To me, that's Coyote Armstrong. So, I think that he's going to find a role. I still believe right now that Amari Nyblack is going to lead this Texas A&M tight end room in yards this year. But I believe Armstrong's going to be on the field. I bet he plays 200, 300 snaps. And I also bet that he's going to be an absolute star in the future. Just watching the film on him, watching them play, you can just tell that's going to translate to the college game. Some of these defensive linemen, DJ Sanders, Chase Sims, this is an interesting one to me because I think that I love the film on both Chase Sims and DJ Sanders. And they're going to be great. It's once again, the question is, will they be great this year? I think with the current state of this Texas A&M defensive line, I think you're going to see both of these guys get some snaps. I'm not saying it's going to be significant. I'm not saying they're going to play, 30 snaps a game. But yeah, I could see a world where they're out there in some capacity. And I believe they're going to be really, really good players in the future. But right now, it's what we talked about with Lamont Rogers. It's hard to start or even have a significant role in the trenches as a true freshman. It's just not easy to do. Then you look at some of these corners. This will be interesting. If you want a bold prediction out of me on a Tuesday, I'll give you one. Whether it's Jamari Bill-Goins or Kelshawn Johnson or not Kelshawn Johnson, the receiver, or Adonis Curry. I think that there is a world, or Sellers or Petaway. You've got really good corners in this room. I think there's a world where one of those guys finds a way to get into a significant role. I like Humphrey from Georgia. I like Shaw from Washington. I just have this feeling that we're going to see one of these freshman corners work their way into a role. I think it's going to happen. So we're going to talk about a few more freshmen that I think could work into some snaps as true freshmen. And we're also going to talk about this bold prediction from Athlon Sports about Marcel Reed. And we'll do that coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I got to tell you about our friends over at Game Time. Those of you everydayers here at Locked On Aggies know that I absolutely love the Game Time app. To me, the Game Time app is the best place to buy tickets. Wherever you're going to see a concert, to go watch a comedian, to go to a basketball game, a football game, a hockey game, a baseball game, whatever you want tickets to, Game Time is the place to go and get said tickets. Absolutely love the app. It's easy to use, best prices. I love how you can see where you're going to be sitting. That's my favorite feature in the app is, I always like to have good seats at a venue. And okay, this ticket is $81. This ticket's a little further back, but it's $62. But it's not, is it worth the $19 off? I like that feature of the app. I think it's super convenient, helps me purchase tickets where I want to be. I love the Game Time app. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Ready to make your next event even better? Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. So, I think that these linebackers could be interesting. And Noah McHale, I'm really excited about Noah McHale. I think that he's going to be a star. I like Kelvion Riggins, too. I think he's an underrated player. He was ranked higher at one point in the rankings, and he kind of he's a top 400 player on 24/7 Sports. Some of the other places, or in the composite, and 24/7 Sports doesn't have him listed all that high. But, to me, one player that I'm really staring down that's going to be a star and I think could play a role this year is Landon Rink. What Landon Rink did at the All-American game the other day was just at the Under Armour All-American game. He was just really, really good. And he's a guy that a lot of folks, myself included at times, look at rankings and that is it. That's all that matters. If a player isn't ranked that high, they're just not going to be that good. That's kind of, I think, the way some folks look at it. And now once again, Landon Rink is a 4-star. He's a top in 24/7 in the composite rankings. He's a top 250 player on the 24/7 Sports list. He's listed as the 60th. So here's the difference. 24/7 Sports has him as the 60th defensive lineman in college in this class. The composite rankings have him as the 21st. So normally, I'm very pro 24/7 Sports, but I really disagree with them on this one. I'm willing to say that they're going to flat out be wrong about this one. I'm that confident. And I'm that confident in Landon Rink. I think he's going to have a really big role. And then, some of I think these running backs, DeAndre Ryden and Morrow, are both going to get some significant snaps. I just have a feeling that they're going to overtake somebody in this room, and it's not going to be Owens and it's not going to be Moss. I think that I'm not saying a lot of snaps, but I think that they're going to take over kind of as a two-headed monster at running back 3, in my opinion. So those guys I see getting some good snaps as well. Offensive linemen aside from Rodgers, I don't really see him getting a ton of snaps. I really like the film on Jonte Newman, but I think that he's got a lot. He's got a lot more to he's got to get into SEC offensive line shape, and at 275 pounds, he's just not quite there yet. Marco Jones is another player that I really think that we could see step up and play a significant role this year. Edge is a position that we've got a lot of good players that came in from the portal, but I think that Marco Jones could make something happen. So let me know in the YouTube comments, who do y'all think, which true freshman do y'all think will step into a significant role this year? Do you think that we're going to see a lot of freshmen play significant snaps? Let me know in the YouTube comments. So this article from Athlon Sports talks about, the title says Texas A&M Football 2025 Preview Offensive Expectations. This is an interesting little blurb about Marcel Reed. So it says, Marcel Reed, poised for a breakout year. The most important storyline for the Aggies in 2025 is quarterback Marcel Reed. I agree there. After a solid but not spectacular 2024 season, Reed has the opportunity to elevate his play. Really agree. It's a great statement. With a full offseason to build chemistry with the offensive coordinator, I think that this is a way that you can find a way to continue to get better. And I think that he's going to be a guy with Colin Klein that is just going to be a star. I think that he is set to break out this year. And then it says running back depth is a strength for the Aggies. Of course, you've got Le'Veon Moss, Ruben Owens. They've had their injuries, but they'll really be good. It says there's going to be they're both going to be a major asset in 2025. And then the offensive line continuity is a strong foundation. Agree with all that. But to kind of harp on the quote about Marcel Reed, I continue to love seeing folks talk positively about the upside of Marcel Reed because we all know that he has a ton of upside. He's a guy that, I've talked about it. He's going to be, when you see quarterback rankings, he is going to be in that range of, kind of that, he's 8-9 range, right? Top half of the SEC, but he's not top half of the top half. I think that he has the upside with his ability to use his legs and the development Coach Klein's going to help him with as a passer to become a top 3 quarterback in this league. And yes, people are going to say I'm crazy. I understand that. It's fine. But those that say I'm crazy, watch the film on him and tell me that if he gets better as a passer, he can't be a dominant quarterback in the SEC because he can. He can. I scream at the wall about this sometimes. It grinds my gears when folks don't see a world where he can develop. Hey, and this is not A&M fans. This is more kind of national folks or other fan bases. Hey, I got a secret. Players can improve in the offseason. You're allowed to do that. And I think that he's going to take that next step knowing that he's our guy. He wasn't our guy heading into this year. And I think that the development is now or never for Marcel Reed, and I think it's going to be now. So I also agree with the article talking about the running back room. We all agree that this running back room is going to be spectacular this year. You've got your great returners. You've got some freshmen coming in. I think that the 1-2 punch of Moss and Owens, if they stay healthy, is going to be absolutely unstoppable. And then my other thought on this with this offensive line is they're right. I think that the strengths of this offense are going to end up being the offensive line, the running back room, and Marcel Reed. I think that how good your receivers are going to kind of be a surprise, but it's going to be a surprise positive for the Aggies. So I agree with this article. I think there's a lot of upside for this Texas A&M offense. And I think, yes, right now you probably have to list Texas A&M's offense as a whole in the SEC as kind of an underrated unit. I'd agree with that. It is an underrated unit. But I believe it has the upside to be a really, really good unit in this league and kind of get to that next level. So I am excited to see how good the Texas A&M offense can be next year because I think it's going to be spectacular. We're going to talk a little bit about Bracekology. Where does Joe Lunardi have the Aggies in the NCAA tournament? We'll talk about it coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. So in Joe Lunardi's Bracekology update, he has the Aggies as a 3 seed in the West bracket. That would have them opening up against Northern Colorado, which I believe, if I am in fact a ball knower, that is the alma mater of Austin Eckler. Let's see. Austin Eckler. Oh, Western Colorado. Darn it! That's on me. I knew it was one of the small schools. Sorry, sidetrack. One of my really good, I don't know if y'all are like me, but I'm one of the self-proclaimed. I'm really good at where I went to college. So I'll be getting a beer with my pals and just really Aaron Jones, where are you going to go? UTEP. I just go ham on that. So if you got a crazy one, leave it in the comments. I'm really mad. I knew that was not. Never mind. But I'm disappointed that I got that wrong about Eckler. But I knew it was one of the directional states in Colorado. Proud of that. But so you open up against Northern Colorado in this Bracekology update. You then play the winner of the 6-11 game. The 11th seed game, of course, that's a game where it's winning in for between BYU and Pittsburgh on this, and the winner of that game would then play Oregon. So then it'll be Oregon versus either BYU and Pittsburgh, and if Texas A&M beats Northern Colorado, they will play Oregon. So Oregon's a team to me. When I watch them play, I personally think they're one of the most overrated teams in college basketball. They're good, but they're overrated. I mean, where do they sit currently in KenPom? I think they're AP poll. Are they? I don't know what they did this week. I don't really keep up with that crappy basketball conference. Yeah, they dropped out of the rankings because of the loss to Nebraska, which was an ugly one. But they're still a team that many expect to be a tournament team and end up with that kind of higher up ranking. When you look at KenPom, they sit at 37th. To me, this is why I think they're overrated. They're 42nd in offense, 49th in defense. I mean, that means to me they're not spectacular at anything. They're okay at both offense and defense, but they're not spectacular. And I mean, we've seen the stats. You have to be, and I forget if y'all know this stat. Let me know in the YouTube comments. I see it all the time, but you have to be historically over the KenPom era. You have to be, I think it was top 20 in offense and top 25 in defense, something like that. And I mean, so this Oregon team is not a contender. I think the Aggies can beat them and move on to the Sweet 16. Looking at your bracket as a whole, Tennessee is your 1 seed. And I mean, yeah, Tennessee's defense is elite, but they're just not good. Like, I'll be honest with you all. And I know that I'm being a little bit of a hater about this basketball team, it sounds like, but I believe that defense wins championships. I get that. I know that we're elite defensively and we're a great rebounding team and we're gritty and we do the little things right. I get that. But at the end of the day, in March, you have to be able to score. And I just don't know if this team's going to be able to do it. I have my concerns with this team, but I think Tennessee is the same version of us. I think we're as good as Tennessee. So if Tennessee's our 1 seed, I'll take that all day long, which of course you wouldn't play them until that'd be 64, 32, Sweet 16. You'd play them in the Elite 8. So, I don't know if I'm buying Tennessee. I don't think they end up being a 1 seed. I mean, aren't they literally don't they already have 4 conference losses, which I know the SEC is different because it's the SEC right now. And, there's a lot of good teams. There's a log jam in the middle, but yeah, they're 5-4 in SEC play. So they've already got 4 conference losses. I mean, we're 6-3, but I mean, that Texas loss just kills me every time I think about it because we should have won that darn basketball game. I think Texas A&M is going to be a 3, 4, or 5 seed. I feel very confident about that. If I had to guess, I would guess Texas A&M ends up being a 4 seed. I mean, just knowing what the Aggies have left on the schedule, and you still have to go to Missouri on Saturday, tough one, host Georgia, who now we know Georgia's not all that, host Arkansas, they just got a big win, go to Mississippi State, I think they're still a little bit overrated, but tough team. Then we host Tennessee, that'll be a big one, host Vandy, go to Florida, host Auburn, go to LSU. I mean, it's a tough stretch. It's a tough, I mean, this team could finish 13-5 in SEC play, or this team could finish 8-10 in SEC play. I mean, it's going to be tough sledding. I don't really see 8-10 happening, but I could see a world where we finish at 9-9 in SEC play. So, tough stretch of basketball coming up, and the Aggies got to find a way to win. Of course, on Friday, we will preview the Missouri game because it is a big-time game for the Aggies and the SEC as a whole. That's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Aggies. Thank y'all so much for being here every single day. Really, really appreciate it. I hope y'all have a great rest of your day today, and we'll see you tomorrow right here on Locked On Aggies.